بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يوم نقول لجهنم هل امتلأت وتقول هل من مزيد وأزلفت الجنة للمتقين غير بعيد صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Respected listeners, inshallah, we're going to be discussing a few verses from Surah Qaf, where Allah Azza wa Jal gives a description of the hellfire, and He also gives a description of Jannah. And one important thing that we must understand, respected listeners, is that these two destinations, they are la mahalata, which means they're inevitable. It's definitely going to happen. There is no middle ground in between. You will either end up here or you will end up there. There's no third place for you to go. So let's take a look at what Allah Azza wa Jal, how He describes these places. يَوْمَ نَقُولُ لِجَهَنَّمَ هَلِ امْتَلَأْتِ. The day when we will say to Jahannam, are you full? هَلِ امْتَلَأْتِ. Are you full? Have you had enough? You know, human beings are thrown inside, and Jahannam is being spoken to like a living creature. Jahannam is being spoken to like it's a living animal. Are you full? And what's Jahannam going to reply? Hal min mazid. Is there any more? Is there any extra? I'm still hungry. I want more. I want to take in more. وَأُزْلِفَتِ الْجَنَّةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ غَيْرَ بَعِيدٍ. As for the muttaqeen, as for the pious, the people who thought of Allah Azza wa Jal, Jannah will be made to appear in front of them. غَيْرَ بَعِيدٍ. Not far away. Very close, they will see Jannah is appearing right in front of them. هَذَا مَا تُوعَدُونَ لِكُلِّ أَوَّابٍ حَفِيظٍ. This is what you have been promised for every person who turns back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Awwab. Awwab, it comes from the word Aba Ya'ubu. Aba Ya'ubu means you constantly go back. This is kind of what we were talking about last night. Somebody who consistently, always, they keep turning back to Allah. And secondly, they are hafiz. They safeguard themselves. They protect themselves. They watch their sins. They watch what they're doing as far as their actions are concerned. Man khashiya ar-Rahmana bil-ghayb wa jaa bi-qalbin munib. Who are these people that Jannah is going to be brought forth so that they could see it right in front of their eyes? The ones who feared Ar-Rahman. Subhanallah. Look at the words which Allah has used. We all know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has His 99 names, and He also has more names than that. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the people of Jannah, they are those who feared Allah. What name does Allah use? What sifat does Allah use? Ar-Rahman. So in here there's an ishara, there's an indication that the believers, they're bayn al-khawfi wal-raja. There's not too much hope where Allah is Rahman, Allah is Ghafoor, Allah is Rahim, so sin all you want, do whatever you wish. And it's also not Allah is Qahar, He is, the most punishing, the most strict, so therefore there's no chance of us to be forgiven. Just don't even ask for tawbah anymore. Rather, it's a balance in between. That's why here you can see, Man khashiya, the ones who feared Ar-Rahman, bil-ghayb. Bil-ghayb means in absence. Meaning when they were in absence of people, when they were alone, when they were in solitude, they thought and they remembered that Allah is watching them at all times. وَجَاءَ بِقَلْبٍ مُنِيبٍ. And they have come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What did they come with? Respected listeners, when you die, you can't take physical possessions with you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can't take money and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ransom yourself. There's nothing that you could present. The only thing that a believer will take is the a'mal. And specifically here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the one who comes with a repenting heart, a clean heart, a pure heart. That's what would benefit a person on that day, is a clean heart. Udkhuluha bisalam. Enter the Jannah with peace. ذَلِكَ يَوْمُ الْخُلُودِ. This is the day, it's going to be everlasting. It's going to be for eternity. It's not a day that's 24 hours and eventually it's going to end and you have sunset and then it gets dark. That day, forever and ever. لَهُمْ مَا يَشَاءُونَ فِيهَا وَلَدَيْنَا مَزِيدٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, for the people of Jannah, they will have whatever they desire. In Jannah, whatever you wish for, whatever your heart desires, Allah Azza wa Jalla will grant it to you. So much so, even before your tongue needs to say it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put it in front of you. The moment the Jannati wishes for some fruits, you don't need to ask no servants. You don't need to get up and go to the fridge. You don't need to do anything. The branches will come down. Allahu Akbar. The branches will come down right in front of you. Pick the grapes as you wish. Pick the fruits as you wish. It'll come to you. The birds will come. You won't need to go. You know, everyone went this weekend. Everyone went to the Halal Fest. Everyone was making bad dua for everyone. Because the line was 1 hour long to get inside. And then another 1 hour to order your food. And then poor guys, some people, they waited 1 hour. And then the food ran out. So they went home unhappy. In Jannah, there's no disappointment. In Jannah, every single Jannati will get whatever he wants immediately. There's no line for you to wait at. There's no waiting. Whatever is in your heart, Allah Azza wa Jalla will grant it to you. That's the beauty of Jannah. And respected listeners, in the end of this verse, look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. In Jannah, they will have whatever they wish. And with us, there will be some extra. With us, there will be some extra. What is this extra which Allah is talking about? The Mufassirin, they mention, when Allah is talking in this verse about the extra, He's referring to one thing. That the people of Jannah, they will be in ecstasy. They will be in bliss. They will be in complete happiness. مَا لَا عَيْنٌ رَأَتْ وَلَا أُذُنٌ سَمِعَتْ وَلَا خَطَرَ عَلَى قَلْبِ بَشَرٍ. You know what Jannah is? Jannah is that place no eye has ever seen the likes of Jannah. No ear has ever heard the likes of Jannah. وَلَا خَطَرَ عَلَى قَلْبِ بَشَرٍ. No heart has ever imagined the likes of Jannah. That means in Jannah, there's going to be such things you never even could think about. You could never even imagine the bounties and pleasures of Jannah. But here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, there will be something in Jannah. There will be one thing in Jannah that will be so beautiful. It will be so great. It will be so amazing, so impactful, that the Ahlul Jannah, nothing will be more beloved to them than this extra gift which Allah will grant them. What is this one thing? The riwayat mention that when the Jannatis are enjoying their Jannah, complete bliss, whatever their hearts desire, Allah Azza wa Jal will say, ask. They will say, Ya Allah, what else can we ask for? We asked you for everything. We have our palaces, we have our mansions, we have our servants, we have our horses, we have our rivers of honey and milk. What else could we ask for? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remind them, ask for this, O my servant, ask for this, ask for this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remind them. And in the narrations it is mentioned, the Ahlul Jannah, they will say, Alam tubayyid wujuhana? Have you not made our faces shine? Have you not entered us into Jannah? Have you not saved us from Jahannam? Ya Allah, what else could we ask for? We have everything. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them this greatest gift which we are talking about. And what is this gift? Allah will lift the hijab. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will lift the veils, and kama yaliqu bi sha'nihi, as is befitting for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's majesty and glory, the believers will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that bounty of Jannah is the greatest of everything. Every Jumu'ah, the believers will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah will grant them this great favor and gift. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from amongst them, inshallah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he explained this to the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, some of them asked, if we're gonna, in this dunya, if you want to see somebody, sometimes there's huge crowds of people. How are we all, every person in Jannah, how are they all going to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave the example. You see the full moon, right? On the 14th, 15th, you see the moon is so full, so beautiful, so bright, it's shining. Everybody wants to come outside and look at the moon and say Subhanallah. Does anybody fight over seeing the moon? It's my turn, I want to go first. No, everybody can see the beauty of the moon. Like this in Jannah, Allahumma ja'alna minhum, they will see the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now respected listeners, before we end off, a few points I wish to mention. When the mu'min thinks of Jannah, Allah has encouraged us to ask for Jannah. This is part of our beliefs. This is part of our motivation and encouragement. You have to ask Allah. Allah put Jannah there so that we could ask. Rasulullah ﷺ encouraged us. You should ask Allah for Jannah. But let's not forget, what is greater, Jannah or the creator of Jannah? Wallahi, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they lived in this world as if they're living in a Jannah because of the love that they had for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Think about it. These people, they would pass away as they're dying, they're shedding tears. People would come and say, Ya Fulan, why are you crying? You're a Sahabi, you're scared of death? He says, I'm not crying because I'm afraid of death. The reason why I'm crying is because I'm gonna miss the dark nights where I used to make the tahajjud salah and cry to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm gonna miss those hot summer days where I used to fast for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I used to go in the path of Allah Azza wa Jal in the heat and scorching heat of the desert. I'm gonna miss those moments. Those moments were beloved to me. Those moments were ecstasy for me. Those moments were extreme bliss and happiness. This is the mu'min. The happiness that we get in our hearts is through love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look at some of the du'as which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would make. Allahumma inni as'aluka ladhatan nadri ila wajhik. Oh Allah, I ask you the pleasure of looking at you. I ask you the pleasure of being able to see you. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would ask this. He loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much. He is wishing, when am I going to see you, Ya Allah? Musa alayhi salam also is mentioned his story in the Quran. قَالَ رَبِّ أَرِنِي أَنظُرْ إِلَيْكَ. He told Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when Allah spoke to him, he said, Ya Allah, please let me see you. Let me see you. I wish to see you. I want to know you. I want to be closer to you. قَالَ لَن تَرَانِي. In this dunya, you're not going to see me. وَلَكِنْ انظُرْ إِلَى الْجَبَلِ. Look at the mountain. فَإِنِ اسْتَقَرَّ مَكَانَهُ فَسَوْفَ تَرَانِي. If this huge mountain, strong, sturdy mountain, if it can handle my tajalli, me exposing just a bit of my power and qudra onto the mountain, if the mountain can handle, then maybe you'll be able to see me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put a tiny drop of tajalli, a tiny drop of His qudra and His power, tiny drop, He put it on the mountain, the whole mountain collapsed. Musa alayhi salam fell unconscious. فَلَمَّا أَفَاقَ قَالَ سُبْحَانَكَ. He woke up, Subhanallah, tubtu ilayk. I make tawbah to you. I'm the first of the believers. Look how majestic, how powerful to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A huge mountain can't even handle one drop of Allah's tajalli. Now imagine when Allah makes our hearts able that we can take that tajalli and see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah will grant that inshallah. Allahumma ja'alna minhum. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from amongst those people. Respected listeners, this is something that we must understand. This is something that we need to build in ourselves, is shawq for meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Man ahabba liqa Allah, ahabba Allahu liqa'ahu. The one who loves to meet Allah, Allah loves to meet you. وَمَنْ كَرِهَ لِقَاءَ اللَّهِ. The one who hates to meet Allah. You're scared of death. You want to stick to this dunya. You want to live in this world. يَوَدُّ أَحَدُهُمْ لَوْ يُعَمَّرُ أَلْفَ سَنَةٍ. If you could live 1,000 years, you would stay here, stuck to this world. كَرِهَ اللَّهُ لِقَاءَهُ. Allah also dislikes to meet a person like that. love to meet Allah, wish to meet Allah, hope to meet Allah Azza wa Jal, make dua to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahumma inna nas'aluka hubbak wa hubba man yuhibbuk. Look at what Rasulullah ﷺ would ask for. Ya Allah, we ask you your love. We ask you the love of those who love you. وَحُبَّ عَمَلٍ يُبَلِّغُنَا إِلَى حُبِّكَ. We ask you the love of those actions that will make us reach your love. Look, Rasulullah ﷺ, all of these du'as are for Allah's love. This is a prime thing that we should seek to reach within our hearts and in our lives. Love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the essence of happiness. The Ahlul Jannah, what will make them so happy? Their connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll end off with one last point here. I was listening to an interview with, this new, not new, he's an old NBA player. MashaAllah, very famous guy, NBA champion. And he recently became Muslim, he accepted Islam. In the NBA world, it's a very, very big thing right now. His name is Steven Jackson, he's an NBA champion. And MashaAllah, he took his Shahada. And he's giving da'wah to all the NBA players. MashaAllah, like 5-10 NBA players. He's constantly giving them da'wah and explaining to them. But subhanAllah, one thing that he said stuck with me. Remember, this is a man, he has all the money, he has his mansions, lots of money. He's been in the NBA for 14 years. He has his millions. He said, since I have become a Muslim, the days that I wake up in the morning with salah and I pray my salatul fajr, he says, I have never experienced days of happiness in my entire life like the days when I wake up with salatul fajr. Imagine. Now think of us, respected listeners. We look at these rich people and we're like, man, these guys have everything. They're set for life. They're so happy. They're looking at us and they're like, you have everything, oh Muslims. The contentment that Allah puts in your heart, you're the rich people. You have all the values, you have all the riches. Just because we have mansions, they have nothing. Allah has given us the true happiness. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to grant us all tawfiq, to value, to appreciate and understand the beautiful connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how important and valuable and beneficial it is to be Muslims. May Allah Azza wa Jal protect us all and grant us all tawfiq. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.